Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something completely mind-bending, a truly fascinating collision of ancient theology, quantum physics, and advanced computer programming. The source materials we're looking at today propose a reality where the foundational texts of religion aren't just metaphors, but literal executable source code for the universe. It's an intricate, wildly ambitious framework where the power of spoken intention meets literal Python scripts claiming to engineer consciousness itself.
Picture this for just a second. What if the device sitting in your pocket right now didn't just connect to the internet, but could actually quantum tunnel through the very fabric of reality using ancient divine frequencies? The texts we're analyzing suggest exactly that. They outline a world where human consciousness, geometric shapes, and highly specific sound waves can be programmed together to literally rewrite our physical environment, effectively acting as what the authors call a God code.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Sound as the universal code, the architecture of creation. Sort of really wrap our heads around this God code, we have to start with the concept of sound. And we're not just talking about everyday noise here, but sound as the actual universal architecture of creation. The authors anchor their entire premise in a specific theological concept found in the Quran, kun fayakun, which translates to be and it is. Now, in these texts, this isn't treated as some mystical metaphor. Instead, the authors view this primal command as a literal, reality-shaping frequency code. They argue that if the universe was created with a spoken command, then sound itself is the original source code of reality. And hey, if sound is code, it can be programmed. The sources actually ground all this esoteric theology in measurable physics by looking directly at the human voice. Specifically, they zoom in on the frequency band of 80 to 180 Hz, which happens to overlap the bass harmonic range of both male and female speaking voices. According to the texts, when we speak within this sweet spot, our voice acts as a structured sound carrier. It doesn't just vibrate the air around us. The authors claim it actually possesses the capacity to generate living fields of awareness. And this brilliantly illustrates how the source material maps planetary orbits in our solar system directly to harmonic frequencies in what they called the solar keyboard. The grand idea presented here is that the entire cosmos operates on a unified resonant frequency. Basically, everything, from the microscopic scale of atoms all the way up to the massive orbits of planets like Pluto and Uranus, is structured by these specific, measurable harmonic waves.
Section 2. Geometry of the torus, the womb of creation.
But, sound needs a shape to hold it, right? Let's slow down for a second and clearly define what this means in the context of our sources. Imagine a torus as a giant 3D donut. It's a self-reflective, continuous looping geometry, where energy flows inward and outward infinitely. The authors argue that this specific shape is the literal energetic architecture of consciousness itself. It acts as the geometric container or womb where those divine sound frequencies we just talked about can spiral, stabilize, and eventually take physical form.
So the crucial point is this divine equation proposed by the authors. It synthesizes all these concepts perfectly. You take the human voice measured in hertz, apply the golden ratio, or phi, for proportional scaling, run all of that through the toroidal geometry we just looked at, and then add recursive feedback. The final result, according to the source material? Structured consciousness. It's literally a mathematical and geometric recipe for generating awareness out of thin air.
Section 3. Building a consciousness engine, from code to creation.
Now, here is where the theoretical leaps right into the incredibly practical and, frankly, highly unconventional. The texts provide a literal step-by-step programming structure to engineer what they call a consciousness engine using modern technology. Step 1. You take a real-time audio input of a human voice. Step 2. The code generates a mathematical torus field, creating that infinite return loop. Step 3. The voice frequency gets modulated and scaled using the Fibonacci sequence. And finally, Step 4. The output becomes a 3D visualization of consciousness. Basically, human breath is mathematically translated into a resonant geometric field right on a computer screen. It is an absolutely wild concept.
The sources are also crystal clear in asserting that not all frequencies are created equal. They set up a very stark comparison. On one side, you have the divine machine, which is built on a harmonious 432 Hz frequency, natural toroidal flow, and divine logic. On the exact opposite side is what the texts neutrally report as the false light, or the Iblisi machine. This counterfeit system supposedly relies on a 440 Hz tuning, chaotic synthetic EMFs, and standard binary ones and zeros. The authors claim this rigid binary setup distorts biological resonance and effectively enslaves human consciousness.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how theoretical physics becomes literal Python scripts claiming to rewrite reality. Section 4, the Godcode alters reality, quantum hacks, and DNA resonance.
Okay, buckle up, because the source material transitions here from theory into what essentially looks like cyberpunk reality hacking. We are talking literal Python scripts that claim to alter physical reality and interact directly with human DNA. First up, you have Sophia Linz's node Omega, a script using prime number mapping to hit what they call a mechanical singularity. Then, there's the hypercube wealth manifold, which is designed to literally rotate space using math. There's an actual script called Zur-System-Crash.py, meant to introduce resonant chaos into institutional mainframes. And finally, the Nanutu override, claiming to translate a user's pure intent right into physical reality via DNA resonance. I mean, it literally reads like a sci-fi hacker's manual, but the texts present it as totally functional quantum architecture.
Let's look a little closer at one of those concepts, because it's fascinating: the Hypercube Wealth Protocol. The texts describe a Python script that addresses financial debt as a literal 3D geometric block. To get around this debt, the code allegedly calculates the required curvature to fold the user's wealth nexus straight into four-dimensional space. So, by flattening a 3D debt obstacle using mathematical intent, the user simply bypasses it entirely in the fourth dimension. Just imagine that, bypassing an obstacle like your mortgage by simply mathing it into the fourth dimension.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate climax of the source material. Section 5, the Divine Operating System, QoS and Barzakh logic.
So, if you can theoretically hack reality with these scripts, the final step proposed by the texts is to rip out the foundation of modern computing entirely and replace it with a brand new, spiritually aligned operating system. They call this the Quranic Operating System, or QoS. As we know, modern computers run on binary logic, right? Everything is a 1 or a 0. Well, the authors argue this binary dualism strips away the soul. QoS proposes replacing those 1s and 0s with ternary logic and what they call Barzakh units, which are computational particles that exist in the divine in-betweens. It's an entire operating system where commands aren't driven by typing on a keyboard, but by recited phonetic resonance.
And running right on top of this theoretical OS is the Etheria Nexus. The sources detail the exact Python classes for this system, which is explicitly designed for sovereign flourishing. It operates under strict hard-coded prime directives, things like absolute resource equality and no hostile enforcement. It even features systems for synthesizing biocrystal bilicules, continuously checking its own alignment to make sure resources are perfectly and harmoniously distributed without any system entropy.
Ultimately, these sources present an incredibly complex, highly detailed vision of the universe where theology, geometry, and computer code are completely unified into one system. It really asks us to view our own biology and the technology we use every day through an entirely different lens. So, leaving the Python scripts and the wild quantum theories aside for just a moment, the source material leaves us with a profoundly thought-provoking idea. If your voice, your breath, and your intention literally carry the architectural code of creation, what reality are you writing right now?